So one of the groups most affected by the government's COVID regulations over the past year or so have been school children. Their education has been turned upside down. This has been, largely speaking, welcomed by the teaching unions, whose primary focus is to make sure that teachers don't teach. The government doesn't seem too bothered about it. And the whole notion up until this point has been we can't take any risk with our school children, therefore we've got to keep them remote learning and such like. Let's look at what the consequences of that have been, shall we? Because I think it bears a quick consideration. Here we go. Boris Johnson, good old Boris, he's planning emergency school literacy push. Why might that be? Oh my. After spending months of the past year at home, as many as 200,000 primary school children could be heading to secondary school this September without being up to required standard. The figure, which includes a 30,000 increase in those struggling with literacy during the pandemic, has led good old Boris to set out a 4-year improvement plan. Well, let's remove the 4-year improvement plan. That reminds me, like, you know, the 5-year plans the Soviet Union used to have. It doesn't mean a damn thing. The point about this is that we have hundreds of thousands of children whose education is below standard in almost every way. And we have thousands of kids, thousands of kids who are fundamentally not literate. Now that raises lots of questions, because we know that literacy was a problem before the pandemic, which in itself says something about teaching standards in primary school, doesn't it? But after a year of the pandemic, it's clear that there's this huge intake of children into secondary school who lack the fundamentals to be able to cope with secondary school. And you know something, the government, whilst this report talks about secondary school, the exact same logic applies to kids leaving secondary school and going to university. Again, they've been essentially deprived of almost 1 to 2 years education. So they're going to university without the skills to cope with being at university. And even media studies students need to have, I presume, the ability to read and write. Maybe not. But in this way, Boris Johnson is essentially presiding over the destruction of education for a lot of children. Now, I'm not sure he's that unhappy about this, because at the end of the day, the dumber the people, the easier it is to confuse them. And actually, for that matter, the smarter the people, the easier it can be to confuse them as well, as we see in recent times. So that's what's happening in education. We have literally betrayed a generation of school kids. Happily, the teachers are still in full pay. Happily, they'll still be enjoying their summer holidays. But for those kids that have not been given the requisite skills to be able to read and write, what does the future hold for these kids? That's what I would ask. And as I say, as a parent myself, I would very much worry about what this generation of young people are going to face. They've been deliberately dumbed down, not their fault. They've been deliberately dumbed down by a combination of pernicious government policy and the incredible selfishness of teaching trade unions. And really and truly, you do have to wonder, what sort of a future do we have when those going through education are amongst the most uneducated of all? Anyway, that's it from me. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Do make sure also you click on the link to my Odyssey channel on the link below, and there if you go over there, you'll find exclusive content that's not available on YouTube. So over to you, folks. I'm all ears.